Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending tonight, Thursday, November 19th, 2020, our regularly scheduled Board of Selectmen's meeting being done virtually. I ask that we please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our next section is our public comment section. I don't know if anybody is out there who wants to do anything for public comment. I'll let Donna Lanza explain how to do that if you do want to speak.
Okay, good evening. We do have some guests tonight. We have some Boy Scouts here with Al Penda, who are working on their Citizenship in the Community Merit Badge. So Al or any of the boys, if you have any public comment, you could select the chat box and just put a note in there with your name and that you would like to make a public comment. We have the public comment section at the beginning and at the end of the meeting. And welcome.
Donna, I'm just looking for the chat box.
Oh, see the little bubble?
Okay, I see it.
Go ahead. You could go ahead, Al. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank the Board of Selectmen for welcoming us. Since it was a short notice with the Scouts, I'm not sure who's going to actually be able to attend tonight. And I didn't get a response from them this afternoon, so we'll wait and see if some of them join. If they don't join this evening, then I think in the future we'll have to come back again. But
That would be great.
Yeah, so they're interested in learning about how our town works and what you all do and what issues they have to identify an issue that the town is struggling with, and then talk about what they learned from your meeting and from speaking with others in the community. So once again, I'd like to thank everyone. And like I said, since I didn't get a response from this afternoon, I'm not sure who's going to attend. And I apologize. It's just one of those short notice things for them.
We always welcome you.
Thank you.
I have a public comment and then I'm going to put Mark on the spot. Sorry, Mark. We've had another situation. This is, and Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, the third time now within a month that we have had people attempting to break into cars down on the old Daniels Road, Congress Drive, Senate Brook Road area. They have been caught on film, if you will, or whatever that medium is. Back in my day, it was film. I'm going to ask Mark in a second to kind of give what the police are doing and how they approach this, but it's very, very important. I want to say that these things have all occurred literally very early in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever. You know, people need to be vigilant. The last time, literally, Troop K was there within about 3 to 5 minutes, and they'd already gone. You know, my thing is putting up some of the trail cams on trees around to see if we can somehow get marker numbers. But I mean, this is definitely a problem. It hasn't gone away, and I'm going to turn it over to Mark if he has anything he could add or any information or points.
Well, unfortunately, the majority of them are still leaving cars open. Some people even leave their keys in there. I've gotten calls from people in that area, and I didn't even realize this, but a few people are putting out some kind of sensor beam, just so when somebody enters their yard, it wakes them up so they can scare them away. Because the cameras aren't really working because they're so smart that they just put on a hoodie and all you can see is like this little pit of their faces. And there was a couple of cars seen, and they were so brazen one time that it was right in front of the house, and it was a woman driver, and she was just waiting while they ran right up to that house. And it doesn't seem to be the Hartford kids. The last time I talked to and interviewing the neighbors, it was 35 to 45-year-olds doing it. So I can't comment on all three of them. I mainly focused on one of them where everybody was calling me after it. So it's still the same thing, Dan. If your car isn't locked, they go in it. If your car's locked, they go on to the next house. One time, but I don't think it was this time, they reached in. If you have like a light on in the kitchen or your keys by the back door or something, they'll look through a window. And if they see your keys there, they'll go in and grab them. Now that's very dangerous. I don't think that happened up here. Donna, did it happen at this one? Because I'm not sure it happened at, because I know there's 3 or 4 separate incidents in the past month.
There was one in Marlboro within the last month where they tried to go into the house to get the keys. They didn't make it into the house, but they attempted.
Well, I think the lesson is you need to lock your vehicles. You need to be diligent. And if you see something, you need to call immediately. And I don't know if we can somehow broadcast Troop K's well, what's the best way to get a hold of Troop K in that type of situation, Mark? Is it 911? Is it a local number?
No, I think somebody breaking into your car or getting ready to break into your house or on your property is a 911 call.
Okay. You
I
know,
mean, that's potentially dangerous to you, especially for 2 reasons. They come in your house, or secondly, if you go out to see what's going on, you're confronting somebody who's dangerous. So if somebody says that's not a 911 call, they're wasting our taxpayer money.
okay, because again, until these perpetrators are caught, they just seem to get more and more brazen. You know, it's a terrible thing in our quiet little sleepy neighborhood, our town, but this is reality, and you need to be, forewarned is forearmed, or however they put that saying. You need to make the phone calls. It's the only way we're ever going to get this handled. And any kind of information, I would assume, what's the best type of information, Mark? What helps you the most?
A plate on the vehicle. And people have them on camera. You just can't identify the person. I mean, you could see a silhouette of their body type or whatever, but you can't see faces. I'm not sure how they came up with the description of the an older group now, because before it was like 14-year-olds to 17-year-olds. And the past couple, it's changed, and maybe that's because of the economy, because of COVID, because some of the addicts are out there trying to get their fixes and getting money to buy stuff. So I know it's been kept kind of quiet, but drug use has gone up, and that's a result of that, in my opinion.
Okay. So if we can get a plate, or if people
Yes.
can get a plate, a picture of it or what have you.
Yes, that's key.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You know,
Any other calls in?
so
Yes, John.
yeah, so a lot of our crime is associated with proximity to the highway, right? And Senate Drive is pretty close to the highway. It's close to Westchester exit. Can we put a camera on people coming off the exit?
No, but I recommended putting a camera, at the stop signs of Congress, Senate Brook, and Old Daniels. Whether it's like a trail cam type thing, I don't know what type of equipment is available for that type of surveillance. And I had kind of talked to Andy prior to him getting under the weather about it. And I would really think that it would be worth it to do some sort of investment in that type of technology that could be literally moved around town as necessary. But again, this would be something that the people far smarter than I would have to agree to and put out. So I just don't know how else to do it. I mean, you can't have 24-hour police coverage there because it could be days, weeks before it happens again. You know, the one time the person goes off for a coffee, they could come in and hit it. So it's got to be something that could, you know, record, you know, similar to the speed sign that we have, that literally the radar picks you up as you approach it, it tells you your speed, and I'm assuming that has a camera in it. But something along in that type of a line. But that was just kind of my suggestion as a layman.
It's worth looking into, Dan. In some ways, it's easier to solve crimes in the city because there's so many cameras at so many intersections, and it's more difficult out here, and there's less people providing information for you too.
Yeah, so that was kind of my thought. But anyway, I'm passing that on to the people who hopefully can come up with some sort of system. Okay, any other public comment?
I don't see any at this time.
Okay,
No.
thank you. Our next would be our in the spotlight, good to know, and Donna's got that segment covered, and I turn it over to Donna.
Sure. I am going to share my screen for a moment. What we'd like to talk about is just briefly, it's just a reminder on COVID, the COVID situation. With the uptick in COVID hitting very close to home now, especially going into the holidays, we want people to be extra vigilant. We've received information from the Chatham Health District and from the state about the town of Hebron, and the entire Chatham Health District now are in the red alert zones. They are recommending people stay home and really limit your contact with people outside of your home. Even for Thanksgiving, they're recommending people not travel and not spend a lot of time with people that are not in their home. And I know that that is hard to do, but we do really need to be very conscious of what we're doing. And I'm just displaying here some information received from the state today about the different alert levels and what actions the municipalities should be taking when they're in the different levels. So we are now in the red zone. So just some information that we thought would be helpful. And we'll talk a little bit more about the COVID numbers under that item in the agenda. And that's all I have for now. You're welcome.
Okay, thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, Pete.
Peter Casper. Donna, so how do we continue to educate the public on this? Because it's good information. So how do we push that out? How have we been pushing that out?
We can include it in our weekly management letter. We can post it on, we've been posting these things on our website and on our Facebook page, and just by word of mouth. I think most people know what is right, what they should be doing now. It's just trying to reinforce that, and
just reminding.
No, it means them. It's not just this is what other people should be doing. This is what everybody should be doing.
Yeah, and most of the conversations, well, we'll just have a couple people over. We'll just have my sister over. We'll like, oh my goodness, I have that conversation at home, and it's just a matter of reminding them again, because I think sometimes people have a tendency to disconnect between what's happening out there, not recognizing that it's really it's about all of us, and it is hitting close to home, and you don't want to be any part of it if you can help it. So in terms of suffering those the COVID symptoms, and so whatever we can do, we just want to make sure we're doing everything we can do to remind people again and again and again how important this is. Okay, thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, I was in a local restaurant yesterday. I won't say which one, and getting takeout. It's part of our open business thing. And there were people there without masks on, and I realized at the tables you can do that, but they were, at the bar and stuff without masks on. I was like, I was just shocked. I mean, this thing is just going like wildfire, and you can get it so fast now. I just hope people will, err on the side of a mask, right? For everybody's sake.
Okay. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you all.
So the next,
week- Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
No, go
Danny.
ahead.
So next item on the agenda is the appointments and resignations. And these are the 2020 reappointments. We contacted anyone whose term is up in December, and we've heard back from almost everyone. We're just waiting for one person, and that is Dina Watson. We can put her reappointment on the next agenda. And we've indicated here their preference for reappointment. So most of them are yes. We do have a few no's. And Nathan Van Meter, we knew he was not looking to be reappointed. Scott Kaufman is not seeking reappointment, and Danielle Galligan from the library board. And I did go through the minutes, the record of attendance, and that is indicated right after their names. So for example, Tom Lodo, 8 of 8. So he attended all 8 meetings that they held. Some of the boards and commissions didn't have a lot of meetings this year because of COVID and the virtual meeting format. So this is through their most recent meetings, the attendance record. So those are the people that are up, and then on the next page we have a motion. If you'd like to entertain that motion.
Could I just, Mr. Chairman, can I just make a comment on this?
Sure.
So the only one I think we should discuss is WP. Well, you can discuss anything, but for me, WPCA. As I was going door to door at Amson Lake, people were really upset about the increase in the rates, and I think we had 9 years of having the lowest sewer fees in the region, and then I think it went from 300 to 510 this summer. I don't know, because I don't think it was brought to the Board of Selectmen. And
It doesn't come to us. Yeah.
well, I think we have a responsibility. We appoint these people to the boards, and they're not elected by anybody. And the sewer fee, you can call it a fee, some people call it a tax, is being applied to these people by people who are not elected. And then there's a connection to the bonds that we put out to restore the sewer. So everybody's paying for these things. And I understand, according to the charter and according to state law, where we are, that we are appointing these WPCA, that it's an independent board, but there's nothing that prevents us from putting a selectman on that board. And I would suggest that the next 2 appointments be a selectman and then somebody from the Board of Finance, so that we have 3 civilians on there who are not elected, and then 2 board members who can convey and can bring some of their knowledge of what's going on with the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance, but also give it some more credibility in the sense that they're elected by the people. And so I'm not, and I'll just tell you, I mean, I had my ear talked off by numbers of people about this, upset that it was, you know, sprung on them. They didn't have the money, but also just that it wasn't managed very well. And that's my opinion at this time. I don't think it has been managed that well. And I do think we have a responsibility, and I would like to know, you know, what's going on with the WPCA. That, I mean, generally those fee increases are brought to us in May, I think, right? I mean, we're at least informed, right? They have in the past, but like
I'm not sure. I don't think they've changed their fee structure, and that was one of the problems, is that they have not changed their fee structure
right.
in, like you were saying, potentially 9 years. And then they try to do everything in 1 year, something similar to Eversource.
Another poorly run company. There you go. I like I said, I think, you know, we had a board member on there before who was the chairman. She's been on that for 20 years. Now we don't have anybody. And I think it would benefit everybody if we are applying a tax or a fee to people. It's like the foundational to our democracy, to America, that if you're given, you know, a fee, a tax, you know, you have somebody that's been voted in there, right? I mean, not just appointed, but actually voted in. And it does, their fees do impact our budget and our mill rate and everything. So that's my suggestion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mark.
I agree with John. I think we ought to look into that. It's the same feeling you get with the boards of education, that we have no say whatsoever and no input. And even in this case, no one's even elected there. With the boards of ed, obviously people are elected, but I agree with John totally. I don't know the legality of it. Donna, is there anything that would preclude us from having a selectman sitting there as a member?
We had that in the past. Clara O'Brien was on the Board of Selectmen and the WPCA she's been on the WPCA forever, for 20 years or more. And she was on the Selectmen for a while. It's not an incompatible position. So.
Yeah, that just happened that, you know, she ran for the Board of Selectmen seat and got it. She had already been on the sewer commission. So it just happened. It wasn't anything that was done purposely. That being said, I don't see an issue with it. I don't know. We probably need to verify if there are any nuances that we are not thinking about. You know, just get a quick legal opinion, but I don't see why we couldn't. How often do they meet? 4 times a year, or is it monthly? I honestly don't know.
They meet monthly. They meet on a monthly basis. Yes.
Okay.
We could verify the town attorney.
Yeah, they meet monthly, and they rarely meet for more than an hour. They meet for less than an hour. And this thing isn't really important. I mean, I you know, if this were a private business, this would not be acceptable. I mean, it just wouldn't. We've got sewers that are breaking down. I mean, I don't know. I'm, you know, I already have my own views on it. But then when I went through Mampson Lake and got house after house, oh my God! And they were
Mr.
like,
Chairman,
"What have you done?"
it's your fault,
Peter.
John.
Yes, Peter.
So is there Is the composition of the commission structure dictated by our town charter? So then we would be looking to change the charter and not just have someone on, but we want to mandate that we have 2 elected officials on. John, is that what you're talking about, or just?
No, I don't think we have to change the charter. I just think we should,
Okay.
we should appoint somebody. And I think the Board of Finance, which has has knowledge of what's happening in finance, also there ought to be one member. There'll be a minority on this board. And there's no, the charter says we can appoint anybody.
Okay.
And we appointed Clara, we appointed Clara for years. So, like I said, when Andy told me later, actually, I did not know that it had gone from 300 to 510 until I reached some house in Amston Lake and looked like an idiot because I didn't know that because nobody told me. And I think I should have known. I guess I should have known. I should have elicited that information, but
Or at the least, we should have at least a liaison to that commission from the Board of Selectmen and a liaison from the Board of Finance.
yeah,
And, at the least. And
yeah.
They should
Yeah,
probably be a voting member, Dan, so we probably should be
Yes.
a voting member.
The liaison would be there just to hear the information. What John is addressing is that we want someone there who, as Mark just said, would be able to voice an opinion and have a vote.
So you're
And if
talking
you-
about potentially, sorry, Gail, I'm sorry.
But no, if there's a vacancy and we do that, fine. But right now there is no vacancy, so we can't get anyone on that commission.
Good point.
Yeah, we can, right? Because we have an appointment that we can deny the appointment. We have someone
we
up for it.
could.
And we could deny the appointment if it needs to be filled by an elected official.
Wow,
So yes,
Peter.
there is.
I think that
John is going to answer that one.
if we were going to look to designate going forward a select person and a member from the Board of Finance to serve on that, we probably would want to make that a formal through the charter or some type of ordinance.
No, why?
Okay,
No, I don't think it has to be that formal. I mean,
an informal policy.
should be a policy. If that's what we're going to do, and that's the purpose, there should be a policy and a
have to
statement of purpose for the policy.
Mr. Chairman, I think the whole WPCA should be revised next time anyways. I think to tell you the truth, I think it's kind of broken. But in the meantime, we should have a selectman there. I honestly, I've said previously there should be a report every year. There isn't. When I went to the meeting and tried to get information, I realized there is no budget. I took a picture of a handwritten budget. I honestly think it's got to get more professional. In the meantime, though, we need information, and it's not a small amount of money. We are essentially taxing all these people every year, and I don't know that we have the right basis for it. I mean, I can understand why people are upset. I mean, I'm not paying that money, but I would be upset too.
I
Mr.
am.
Chairman?
Yes, Peter.
Peter Casper, if I may, maybe this deviates a little bit, but we are fortunate to have the chairman of the Board of Finance as our liaison, and he is on the call. And John, you had mentioned about having someone from the Board of Finance. I don't know if it's okay with the board. Can I ask Dave Vesey to comment? We are fortunate
I would
to
be
have
more
him.
than happy to. Yes, please.
Mr.
Sure, thanks,
Vesey, any
Pete.
thoughts on- sure.
Yeah, I agree. And I was wondering if you make it look like an open space, we have Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance on open space, but I believe that's part of the charter, that 2 of the members and their voting members. So that's more formal than what John is talking about. But I agree that both of our boards should be represented there. And I just don't know the mechanism, the best way to make that happen. So I think it might be awkward if someone wants to be reappointed, Pete, you say, well, we deny it. That's a little tough, but
Okay.
that's a mechanism to get it there quickly. But in the long, if we're, when we're changing the charter, I don't see why we can't structure this just like we do open space. Open space has use of a nice pot of money for open space, but that's why we have a board of selectmen and a board of finance member on those boards.
That's a good analogy, Dave. Thanks. Yeah, that's good perspective.
Thanks, Dave.
So if we were to change the charter, just to sort of take another minute to talk about that, is that something that we have to wait for certain intervals, or can we change it? Okay, so we might be stuck on this for a couple of years before we can't make a board decision to make sort of an emergency charter change, or it's a whole public hearing and all that sort of.
You would have to open the charter. And once you do that, you can give direction to the committee or the commission of what you want them to cover.
Okay.
But they would be able to go into anything that they wanted to. You could make it specific, but once you have a charter commission, they can go anywhere they want with it. So we're not due for a few years because I think we
Just
charter
did it
revision.
last year.
Yeah, I know.
We just
Right.
did it. So, but you don't have to wait. You can
Okay.
open charter at any time.
And then the commission is independently formed. We don't have a sitting charter commission. It's for that purpose, and then it disbands. So we'd have to create a commission for one particular item. So I just make sure I understand the structure.
Donna, how would an ordinance work for this? I mean, we've handled other things in the past instead of opening the charter by doing an ordinance.
We would need to look into that. It might be a possibility. I do believe that, WPCA used to be, I think it was 7 members at one time, and we reduced the membership. And I think that was done not at the same time as a charter, and then we had to have the charter catch up with it. So we would have to look into that, to making those kind of changes. We can check with the town attorney.
Yeah, then I would say let's look to that first, because opening up a charter, having been on charter twice, is quite a job.
That's a whole can of worms.
And there's
it is, John, because once you have a seat, as Donna said, once you have a sitting charter commission, they can do as they wish. And in the 2 times I've been on, I've seen that happen. So, but if we want to address one specific thing, I would like to do an ordinance and something for Donna to look into for us.
Yeah,
an ordinance would be cleaner and quicker.
Oh,
yeah, yes.
Sure it would be.
Donna, what do we need? Just a legal opinion on whether we can do that or not?
I want to run it by Andy and the town attorney and see what the attorney's opinion is.
Okay.
And then we have to look at, the Water Pollution Control Authority falls under certain statutes. So we would want to make sure that whatever we're doing complies with those statutes.
Well, here's another thing we could do is instead of we could ask them if there's anybody on the board that doesn't want to be on it now. I mean, because there could be somebody that just wants to resign anyways.
Mm-hmm. The appointments don't need to be made, or do they need to be made tonight?
Donna?
These positions run through the first Monday in December. So, but they do.
So they need to be made tonight?
Ideally they should be, but they do continue to serve until their replacement is appointed. So, we could do it the first week in December. We could do it that first meeting in December.
Because we have how many on WPCA coming up?
One.
Okay.
Mr. Riley.
how active has that individual been?
Let's see.
As Donna's looking, maybe John makes a good point, because I don't want to pick on Mr. Riley. I don't know him. But if we had a discussion and say we were looking for an adjustment in the composition, there could be someone else who says, hey, I don't mind stepping aside. And maybe Mr. Riley's the best person on the commission. I don't want to pick on Mr. Riley. So maybe we could continue this as we gather more information. As Donna said, he would continue to serve until any replacement was formed or identified. So he clearly could continue to do his job there while we understood what our options were.
That
Mr.
was
Riley
kind
has
of what I
served
was.
8
That's
out of
what I was
9.
considering.
So
When
if Mr. Riley has been attending 8 out of 9, it appears that he is an active member.
Yeah, when I was there, he actually was, it seemed to me, and I don't know anything about this stuff, very technically, one of the more technically, adept person there.
Someone we don't want to lose.
Possibly. I think we should table it and then see what they can do. See if there's anybody that wants to get off of it.
So if we delay it and gather more information, and then we can continue to discuss it at the next meeting.
That was what I was heading for.
Yeah.
So at least to hold off on that one appointment. I would like to see as Gail is pushing for the ordinance, that would be cleaner. And that way we could get both a select person and a finance person on that as well, if the ordinance would become a legal pathway into that for that purpose.
Would it make sense to have Clara come to the next meeting? I mean, she obviously served on the Board of Selectmen and this at the same time. She could potentially provide some perspective, or do you think we should do it independent of their input?
I think it would only be fair to, if they wanted to have a representative, whether it's Claire or somebody, to speak on their behalf, and to get their input to it as well, since they're the individuals or the committee that is going to be affected. So I think that would be fair. I don't like doing things in vacuums out of sight.
Yeah,
I just think
John can ask some of those questions, and maybe we can have a better understanding. And obviously, I've never been to one of those meetings, so I don't, not a position where I can comment specifically on it. But you make some good points, John, and maybe we can just explore some of those issues a little bit more. And again, having her serve in that capacity before as a Board of Selectmen, she should have some good perspective on the value of having that input.
Okay, so we will invite Clara or her representative for next month. And we will check on the possibility of doing an ordinance to get onto that commission, both a person from the Board of Selectmen and a person for the Board of Finance. And this will all take place December 3rd, which is our next Board of Selectmen meeting. So outside of that, move that the Hebron Board of Selectmen reappoint the following individuals for a 4-year term to run until December 2024. We would have the Conservation Commission of Thomas Lotto, Economic Development Commission of Judith, the Housing Authority of Florence O'Sullivan, Kathy Lotto, and Deborah Hart, Parks and Recreation Commission, Kenneth Jardin, Kimberly Mizesko, Library Board of Trustees, Beth Schmiel, and Dale Bland. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, starting with John,
John Collins, aye.
Mark,
Mark Rivera, aye.
Peter Casper,
Peter Casper, aye.
Gail Richmond,
Gail Richmond, aye.
and myself, aye. The next item of business. I'm sorry.
Next item is the town manager's report. And we do have some Boy Scouts here, so we would like to welcome them. Joe Nygren, Jacob Covell, and I believe Russell Strumkus. I'm not sure if anybody else has joined us, but welcome. And then just to report on what we have been working on over the last couple of weeks. We have been spending a lot of time with COVID and responding to COVID issues within the town offices and in the community. We're working on preliminary work on CIP and the budget. We have hired a new wetlands officer to replace Steve Knopf. It is Jim Courtier, someone that most of you are probably familiar with. And he'll be starting within the next week. And Andy's been working a lot with the building committee on the library roof specifications and how best to handle the library roof replacement. They're finishing up on the HVAC at the library and the lighting improvements at town buildings. And then just a couple items of correspondence that we shared with you in your package. The police report for the month of October, and then recognition for Donna Godbout for her 35 years of service with the town of Hebron. It's quite an accomplishment. And that is it for town manager report. So the next item is the update on COVID-19. And just quickly, as I mentioned earlier, all the towns in the Chatham Health District are now considered red alert towns, which means we really are spiking and it's pretty widespread. So we, again, encourage people to be very vigilant. Information that we got from the state and from Chatham Health, 96% of state residents are living in red alert towns. So that is how bad it is out there. Talon County right now, there's only one person in Talon County who is hospitalized, which is the lowest rate in the state of Connecticut. So we will stay on top of it as best we can. I think everybody knows that we have closed the town offices. This week we closed the buildings on Tuesday to the public. We have a very skeleton crew working in the buildings right now because people, we have 5 COVID positive employees throughout different departments, and a lot of our employees are quarantining. And people won't be back to work until the Monday after Thanksgiving. Hopefully we won't have any other cases, but that would not be unexpected. The schools are also closed now as well. So that is all I have for the COVID update, unless anybody has any questions. Okay. The next item is the open for business update, and we'll turn that over to Selectman Casper.
Thank you, Donna. We continue to make progress there. We've launched last week, actually, I'm sorry, this week, the Snapchat and Instagram that we talked about with assistance and direction from students at RAM and in the DECA department, so DECA club, excuse me. And so that's launched, so we're excited about that. And again, getting the assistance of some of the kids is really terrific. There's no update in terms of, we're still, we had met with Andover, and so we have not heard additionally from them, but opened up, in terms of our willingness to assist them. And then the Taste of Hebron, which is the newest event that we're working on to try to help some of the restaurants who, obviously with the cold weather now, have to look differently about takeout and some adjustments and try to drive some business into the restaurants, and most importantly, really help them promote themselves with their ability to provide takeout. So that continues to move along. We're attempting to, as early as Monday, have a meeting with any restaurants that are interested. We've reached out, Donna has reached out to all the restaurants that are part of our Shops Local program, and to see what kind of interest there is. As we mentioned in the previous meeting, we have facilities and sort of the structure around it. So now we're at a position where we can ask them their interest level and see what we can do to launch the first event. So more to follow on that. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you. And the next item is the steering committee. Our guest is not going to join us tonight. They are not available, and they have, if we still want to pursue that, they have requested attendance at the December 17th meeting because they would like for the CEO and president to be in attendance. And I'm not sure, Mark or John, if you have anything to add to that.
I don't know who you're talking about.
So we were going to have the National Conference for Community and Justice attend.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that pricing discussion we had, John?
Okay.
Yeah,
Let me tell you what I've done. Yeah, I talked to, I reached out to most of the people that wanted to show some interest. I talked to Mark, obviously, and there's some really good people that want to do this. What I came back with is that I think we should do this in a phased approach, because we don't necessarily have the diversity right now to have a complete study, but we do have the ability to start this, which what I would suggest is that we start with gathering facts about where we are right now. And what I'm looking at is how did we get to where we are in Hebron now, which means looking at the history of Hebron and looking at the history of the metro area, the policies from Hartford and from the state, and just so that people understand that Hebron's a unique community and it has a unique history, and it's been impacted by national and state trends. But so we gather facts, they're neutral, and we tell the story of Hebron. So what I've been doing is gathering documents, and both from Metro Hartford, starting about 1930, but even before that, actually, that John, what's the guy's name? John, I forget the guy's name. Barrett.
That long research document you sent me, John?
No, actually, I didn't send you John Barron's thing, which goes back to the 1700s. But yeah, no, yeah. So I've identified 5 people, or 5 people have been are interested in doing this right now, and they include Donna Jolly, Jacqueline Preble, Joy Zuzel, and Mark and me. So that would be 5 people. And what I want to do is start small and answer that question first. That is, get together a basically a history, or not a detailed history, but a history of what's happened in the town. I've been going through the town reports since 1930, looking at planning and zoning meetings, what they were doing, and there's a story to tell there. So we get that together, lay that together with what's happened in Hartford, the demographics of Hartford, with the policies of Hartford. It could even include, what happened in the inner suburbs, project concern, that sort of thing. But so that people understand what the demographics are here. Now, I'm excited because I think our demographics are changing just naturally. And I think we are in a position, Hebron is in a position economically to grow with this, this COVID-19 thing is terrible, but if there's going to be a community that benefits from it, it's a community like Hebron. There's going to be immigration here, and it's going to be a diverse immigration. And it's exciting, and I think we should be able to set ourselves up to accept it and to nourish it. And so this would be the beginning of that. This report would be kind of the beginning of that. So this report could be done by the end of February. In addition, I want to get together a survey, a Mailchimp survey about how people feel, to be put together by this committee. Again, all of this would be done by the end of February, so it's fairly quickly done. We have this committee. It's 5 people. I'd like the ability to add people as we go along. So as we go along and people see that there's credibility, maybe we get some additional people that could bring diversity, bring other skills. So the first phase would be, where are we now? And the second phase is, what is the impact of that, and how do we come up with recommendations to improve our community? And the first part, I think I'm probably a good person to chair it, because I grew up in the area. I know the history of the place. It's fact finding, which I'm good at. The second phase, hopefully we'll find somebody else, because it'll have to do with feelings and stuff like that. I'm not that great with. So that's my suggestion. I got 5 people. I'd like to be able to add people as we go along, and we'll come up with a report by the end of February. And it won't cost you anything. So there you go.
That's a good one.
Okay, I'll just state my concerns. Hebron is Hebron. Hebron is not Glastonbury. I don't want to be equated to Glastonbury. Hebron is not Hartford, Wethersfield, Bloomfield, Windsor, Farmington. Hebron is Hebron. Hebron is a nice rural community. We have grown into a suburb, but I haven't found where Hebron has shown to be at all biased against anybody. And I have no reason to want to change Hebron to make it into what somebody thinks Hebron should be who doesn't live here. It's a friendly community, and that's my only fear. I don't want to say, oh, well, we have to morph into because we don't.
No, we don't.
As long as we are friendly and open to all, which, and all the different people I've worked for of all the different ethnicities, no one has had any issues. They think Hebron has just been a friendly, welcoming community. And I don't want to find a problem where none exists. I just am cautious of that.
So
Can I say something quick, John?
Yeah, go ahead.
And I can assure you that that's not the mission that John's talking about. In fact, when you read the facts that John is compiling, you'll find that it's other places that contributed to why we're the way we are. There's no culpability on Hebron's part or people to blame for why we are the way we are. That's not the purpose of this. So I think what you said, that just as a statement that we're a welcoming community. We're not trying to create an influx of anything. We're just trying to be fair and open and present some facts. That's it. And
Okay.
John, I'm sure you have something to add to that.
Yeah, well, I do. So of course, but no, I would tell you, um, people, a lot of people in Hebron don't know why the history of Hebron, and it would be really beneficial to them to learn that. So, for example, I mean, Hebron has changed so much over the last 50 years, over the last 20 years. So you have in 1960 a population of 1,300 people, right? I mean, 1,300 people. Most of them are you know, a lot of them are farmers. You know, they are people that have gone back to the 1700s, right? Families that have gone back to the 1700s. In the 60s, there was a huge boom, right? And it was so large that the mill rate in 1969 was 65 because they were building schools so fast they didn't know what to do. When I grew up in East Glastonbury, which is in the hills, you know, it's like 10 miles from here. But when we came out to Hebron to play tennis, you know, I thought this was a poor place. I thought Hebron was poor. Now we're considered, you know, rich, right? I mean, it wasn't poor, but it was not, you know, it was not this, you know, elite town or whatever we are. It was certainly not upper middle class or even middle class. So Hebron has changed, and that's what people should understand, is that it's changed. And if you lay the penumbra of you know, what's happened in the region around it, it tells a story of immigration, of demography, of how people live. And the second part of this is I just think we have such an opportunity as a community because we have so many good things. And if we're open to understanding ourselves, you know, we have our schools and we have low crime and we have a community. I just read something from Bill Gates about how COVID's going to change things. One of the big things he said is that people are going to start finding their friends in their community, not in their workplace. So we have an opportunity here, I think, and this is one step towards understanding our community, but also, you know, improving it, making it more attractive for people. And I don't know. That's what I think. I'm not looking to change it, Dan. I'm not.
Okay. Well, as I moved here in '78, and I actually, one of the reasons I moved to Hebron A was the country atmosphere was what I want to say 5,300 people, and I moved into town. And the other thing, it was basically where I could afford. And I moved down to Amston Lake back when Amston Lake was affordable.
Right.
Pre-tax district and pre-owning the lake, and you know, and it was always a mixture of people, and they were always friendly. It didn't matter who or what they were. Just it was a friendly, very very supportive type of neighborhood, and I think that still is. And yeah, I don't want to lose that.
Right.
Yeah, because it is something that is I feel more and more unique among so many communities where, you know, people really don't know their next door neighbor. And Hebron still does. Hebron is still doing, you know, things for their neighbors. Reading some of our emails, the town emails. I guess St. Peter's Church is doing I want to say green baskets or something. And, you know, there's so many good things going on in Hebron. And I don't want to lose that.
I totally agree. Absolutely. I mean, I told you, like, every person that I went to in the four towns, it seemed it was, I love this town, which is amazing. You know, not one person, and I went to hundreds, you know, thousands of
Yeah.
doors. So yeah,
We're Mayberry RFD of Connecticut.
right. So I don't think I need a
Thanks, Peter.
motion. I'll just go forward if you don't mind.
Well, yeah, and I'm sorry, John.
Go ahead.
I just want, and Gail, did you want to say something? I mean, I have something to say, but I don't, you may have something to add as well, Gail. Do you want to comment before I do?
Mute.
You young lady.
All my Zoom meetings today, I had to cope with that. Let's get unmuted. I did find the environment in Hebron as far as diversity very strange when we first bought our property and built on it, coming from a mixed neighborhood. So I've been very interested in what John has been talking about, because I know the enrichment of growing up. Give an example. I finished the 8th grade grammar school. It was a Catholic school, but get this, there were 3 Black people, 1 Jewish person, and 1 Lutheran person in a Catholic school graduating. So diversity is something that I always accepted as normal, and I did find it strange to move into a community like this. Yet I did it willingly because I wanted to be out in a rural area.
I have the same experiences as you, Gail. Catholic school, 8th grade. There were a lot more than just Catholics there. And Gail, you might be interested to know that people from New York are coming out to look at properties here. So maybe
I know that. Yeah.
So
Let's jack those prices up then. Come on, let's go. So, if I may, I think John, the approach that you've outlined is very good. I think in order for us to make thoughtful decisions, we need information and historic perspective. And I think with that as the foundation for what we're doing going forward, we can only strengthen our community and put some facts to Dan's point. Let's put, because you're worried about things, which is fine, but with those facts, then we can take those facts as the basis for the continued discussion as to how we strengthen our community without losing the integrity of the community. And you have to start with information. And I think it'll be fascinating to hear what Mark, John, and the other folks come back with, because even just thinking about the policies, the redlining, the policies back in Hartford, way back in the 50s or 60s, and how it impacted the suburban loans and the diversity and how people could move in or out of the city. I mean, just understanding that history starts to give us a better perspective of how our community was shaped, and then gives us a foundation in which to move forward. So I think it's great, and I understand you might need some help after February, and you could work on your emotions, John. I think you would be great if you continued on, but I will look forward to your leadership in this endeavor and the information that you provide. But I think that's a really good way to start, because if not, you're starting from a platform or a basis of emotion, and people sort of telling you what they think. And okay, that's interesting, but that's not what's going to move us forward. We have to make decisions, to Dan's point, based on facts and how we want the community to, over time, to be shaped and more inclusive and all that, without losing the integrity of the community. So I think it's well thought out, and I look forward to your continued updates. Thank you.
Thank you.
One other quick note, John. If you go back 1800s, Hebron had a higher grand list than Glastonbury. Glastonbury was the farming community. Hebron was the manufacturing community.
What happened?
No, in 1820, Hebron had a larger population than Hartford. In 1820, it had more people than it did in 1960. So
I can't wait to hear all about this stuff. So you keep going, John and Mark. I'm really fascinated by this stuff. This is good. I mean, it's going to make us all better educated, but this stuff's fascinating. So it can really help us and inform us, and really give a foundation for how we should be thinking about strengthening our community over time. So for the next chapter.
Do we need a motion to continue, or we're all set?
I think we're set.
I think we have one.
Okay.
Thanks for the update.
Okay, Donna, next. Donna, are you frozen?
Oh, she's not. She's really mad at you, Dan.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I think there's an issue.
I think that's what my mother said. My mother
What?
used to say, you know, with that face, if it ever gets frozen, you'd be worried.
It's moving.
That's, yeah,
It's
that's what a
moving.
boy sees when she's mad at him. They're not doing what they're supposed to do. It's, yes.
You gotta love computers.
That happened on the webinar I was doing today. All of a sudden, we were frozen and then was undone.
All right, so I'm guessing, Donna, you'll have to reconnect if you aren't already trying to do so. Oh, okay. Wait a minute, now we're seeing more.
No vote, yeah. No audible. You know, and I usually print out a agenda.
Oh,
Well, the
I
next,
have
the next
it up.
item, Dan, the next item would be the award the bid for the Raymond Brook Bridge.
Okay, I read through that, quite a document, quite
Oh,
a bridge.
Donna's back.
Donna's back.
Not really.
Oh,
Not really. Nope.
Uh-oh.
She just keeps
Do you
changing
want
her
to make
face.
that
Go on,
motion if
Dan.
you have it?
Uh,
Do you want to make that motion if you have that?
Okay.
Donna's back, I think.
Are you back, Donna?
No audible.
No?
no audio, yeah.
How about now?
Oh,
Yes.
great.
No? I'm
Yes.
sorry. I lost my internet. It dropped. I'm sorry about that. Did
Not
we
your
have a
fault.
motion? Did we have a motion to appoint the steering committee?
I had asked if we needed one and everybody is stating that they really didn't feel they needed one, that it was just gonna move ahead.
Didn't we
Okay.
already have a motion that we were moving forward the steering committee? This is more of an update on the steering committee? Because we already
That's what I
approved the
thought,
motion
Peter.
to create the steering committee.
We created it, but I would make them, we probably want to appoint those 5 individuals.
I concur.
Okay.
Just to keep it clean.
Okay, well, I would make if the motion's going to be, so it's Donna Jolly, Jacqueline Preble.
What's
Joy
that name, John?
Jacqueline Preble, Preville.
Yeah.
Dribble.
Joy Zuzel, Zuzel.
Yeah, I know her.
Mark and myself, but I'd also, within the motion, that's not it.
I would state the purpose, what the purpose of this first segment would be.
Okay, so I move, are we forming it, I guess, or we're appointing it? I don't know.
We already have it.
Donna,
This
you
would be
wrote a
the committee
motion.
for the
Is that?
first
Oh.
portion of this study, which will do,
Gather facts about Hebron's demographics and create a survey.
good,
Implement a survey.
create and implement a survey.
Right, and we appoint those 5 members, and with the idea, I want to be able to
Anticipated for February.
yeah, but I also want to be able to bring in other people, but in the meantime, if we have them.
Well, if you start
So
with
do you have a
that,
top end? You have a top end, John, where we could have the motion be, it's going to be a minimum of 5 up to some number
7.
at least, or
Up to
9,
7.
whatever. 7? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
I would
fine.
say
If
9,
it
John.
becomes
Let's say
unmanageable.
9. We can always have it at 7.
Okay,
Let's just
9.
say a maximum of 9.
5 to 9, no more than 9. So we could incorporate that 5 to 9. That way it gives you flexibility. If you want to bring in someone for phase 2 or a couple of
Right.
experts for phase 2, then pull them out for phase 3. Because, you know, Dan, you might need 2 or 3 experts on some segment of the committee. So
Yeah, but you
I
can
don't have a
always
problem.
bring in experts to discuss to the committee. They don't necessarily have to be part of the committee.
That's,
I just want to give
Dan,
them
that's
as
what
much
I
room
was
as they can.
thinking. Whenever we have a committee, we can have so many sitting members, but we bring in guests for their expertise. We don't have to make them actually formally a part of the committee.
Right.
John?
So, yeah, at least 7, but
Okay,
up to 9.
I would suggest 7. It's a manageable number. And you've already
Okay.
got your 5. It just, you start getting committees too big, they just get mired down. Reality.
I like 7, and with John and Mark having the flexibility to bring in people with
Whatever talent
specialized
they need to
knowledge
bring in, yeah.
for the one meeting or so. John, how does that sit with you?
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Yeah. Good.
John, 9 just starts to bother me.
Okay.
Okay, Donna, did you want to basically read back the purpose of the committee? The names we know, the 5 names.
What I got is to appoint those 5 names, and this is phase 1 of a study to gather facts of demographics and create and implement a survey with a target completion date of February.
February 28th.
February 28th.
Okay.
Very good.
And so it'll have yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's good. It'll go where it's going.
You don't want to make it too specific.
Exactly.
Then
Exactly.
No.
you tie your hands that direction.
Yeah, you don't want to
Right.
lock yourself in, John.
Okay, so hearing the motion, all those in favor, going across, John?
John Collins, aye.
And I'm gonna go down the screen, Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
Gail,
Gail Richmond, I.
and then going diagonal, Mark,
Mark Rivera, aye.
and myself, I, Dan Larson.
And can I just ask, I just will need to get back to Lisa Tatko on whether or not we want them to come to the December 17th meeting. But I think right now we're going to ask them not to come
I would
until,
suggest let us do some of this other preliminary work first.
So we might target end of the first quarter. That sort of that sort of concept.
okay,
Perfect, thank you.
very good. Thank you.
Next would be the bridge. And the award, Gail, did you want to read that? You're on mute.
I was gonna say, I'll read it once I get off mute. Move that the Hebron Board of Selectmen award the bid for bid number 2021-01 for furnishing a fiber reinforced polymer composite trail bridge superstructure for Raymond Brook Preserve Phase 2 trails. The Arate Structures LLC, Blowing Rock, North Carolina, in the amount of $50,100. That was a lot of paper to read, by the way.
Is there any discussion on it? Hearing none, all in favor? We'll go the other direction. Mark?
I don't even know where the Raymond Brook Bridge is, so where is it?
It's going over a water course. I'm trying to figure if the closest access would actually be off of Mill Stream, but it's that that trail system that goes from Bobcat Park area.
Yes.
Is that the one you access next to the Holy Family Church, and that's in that trail system?
Right in there, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Mark Rivera, aye.
Gail Richmond,
Gail Richmond, I.
Peter Casper,
Peter Casper, aye.
John Collins,
John Collins, aye.
and myself, Dan Larson, aye.
Thank you. Rich Calarco thanks you.
That's actually been a long time. I had to go through. It's like every board in the world, these things have to go through. A simple bridge. Incredible. The hoops. Okay, next.
Next is the agenda for the December 3rd meeting. So if anybody has any changes, additions, deletions, just let us know. We do
The
have
big thing is going to be the WPCA appointment.
Yeah, we will add that. Okay, and then we are on to the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion. We'll discuss after. Move the Hebron Board of Selectmen approve the following consent agenda items and motions contained therein as if individually adopted. We have the approval of the minutes of the November 5th, 2020 public hearing, the November 5th, 2020 regular meeting, and then the tax refunds as listed. Does anybody have anything they want to break out or discuss or amend? Hearing none. Go down, Gail Richmond.
She said aye.
You did. I read her lips.
Yeah.
Yeah, Richmond, I.
Peter
Turn on,
Casper,
turn off.
Peter Casper, aye.
John Collins,
John Collins, aye.
Mark Rivera,
Mark Rivera, aye.
and Dan Larson, myself, aye. Okay, next would be our liaison things. And Mark?
So I waited to talk about COVID to RAM. So we traced the major COVID outbreak among the youth and parents to a Halloween party. So that's the reason RAM is shut down from the Halloween parties. And it's consumed a great amount of time for the staff to do the tracing. Obviously, I'm not going to list names or who it is, but because we're a regional school, the party was attended by all three towns, and we have cases from all three towns. We have some exposure to teachers, to paras, and I got to say that RAM did a phenomenal job in quelling this and getting out there and getting the word out. And the community was really helpful in identifying the parties and actually came forward and spoke about what was happening because we didn't even really know at first. And now I get reports of where parties are going to be happening, and maybe we can be more proactive. The second part of this is not quite related to RAM, but I've gotten a lot of calls about COVID in town, and one particularly is about the recycling center, and I think we need to reinstitute the lockbox. Gordy's really concerned that him handling money and going up to cars is going to be a problem. So let's do the box again. His point was, how many people am I going to infect if I have it or somebody has it before I even find out I have it? Some other suggestions were that maybe we scale back one day. I'm just throwing these things out, guys. And the other concern they had is our citizens not wearing their masks at the recycling center, and the staff is getting really frustrated, and people are getting a little indignant when they're told you should wear a mask, and with responses like, well, nobody's around me. And so people are concerned, and the public works guys are concern too. So I just want to make you guys all aware of that people are scared. And Donna, if we could, I think we ought to look into working at home as much as we can and staying out of the town hall for a while, and just wondering what all you guys think about that. And maybe this was the wrong time to bring it up, but everything was going smoothly. So
I
that's
think
what
we can, I have no problem at all with making the motion that we go back to the money box. I don't know if you call it a concept or practice or whatever you want to use for the proper terminology of that. So that, you know, again, they don't have to get in contact with the individuals. I don't think reducing the days is a good idea, because that's just going to throw that many more people in on the other days. But going back to the cash box thing, and I don't know, do we have to make a motion on that, or Donna, looking to you?
I can talk to Andy and Kevin Kelly about that.
It
and
just makes
ask
common
Kevin.
sense. With everything else we're doing, it just makes sense. And as the masks, if they can kind of give us some sort of an idea as to when this is happening more, you know, we'll have one of the constables down there. I don't know what our legal options are if someone says, no, you can't make me. I honestly don't know. But maybe if we have one of our constables down there, it's not Gordy's responsibility to have to play cop down there.
You shouldn't have to confront people either. That's unsafe, because they're going to have to get close to them to confront them, and they're not
Yeah.
wearing masks.
Mhm.
And if you look at any store, stores have signage that says if you don't have a mask, you can't come in. So I guess that is what recourse. What do we say now down there? What do we have for signage?
It says you have to have a mask on.
It does. Okay, I don't go down there, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so it says you have to have a mask.
These cameras are cheap, and maybe we should have a camera and tell people there's a camera. If you don't obey it, you know, we'll know who you are, because this is ridiculous.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
knowing who they are, what are our legal rights or our legal
Can we find
recourse?
people? Can we find people? I mean,
I
they're
don't
putting
know.
people, they're putting the whole community at risk. They
I
are.
can address that a little, because we've had some of these issues arise. So according to the governor's decree, if you're outside and you stay more than 6 feet apart, you're not obligated to wear the mask. So as far as taking legal action from a state standpoint, obviously, in your business or in your community, you can be stricter than that. So that would be something we'd address, but that's where the state government stands at this point.
Well,
Donna,
we
would you
may
be
be
able to?
Really, as far as I know, nobody's really tested that, because we've thought about that, because we have had people that really don't want to comply. Who wants to be the first guy that gives this person a ticket for not wearing a mask? And as far as I know, nobody's actually done it yet. And all the cops that I know don't want to be the first person to do it. So I'm just giving you the law enforcement perspective a little too. But as a town, we can make it stricter.
But the thing is, without teeth, I think in order to put
Right.
teeth behind it, we would have to do an ordinance.
We would.
And
I agree to that.
yeah, I think that is the only way, because you can tell people until you're blue in the face, they could basically give you the salute and say, you know, you have no, yeah, unless you have some sort of an authority to present some sort of a penalty, you're really working on people's
Willingness to comply.
thank,
Is
yeah,
it the,
thank,
Yeah, is there any way to figure out, and maybe the folks down there that are, my guess, and I could be totally wrong, is the same 3 or 4 curmudgeons that are just flipping their, or is it 50 people? If it's the same 5 people, maybe we can sort of, I don't necessarily know we need an ordinance to address 5 idiots. Or is it like they're seeing it all day long, people just disregarding? I don't know, but I would ask that question. My guess is there's some probably frequent offenders that just are down there every time it's open with their, small bag or whatever, and they just, I wonder. And maybe there's a different way to attack it. Maybe we could have some conversations with the 4 people saying, listen, we don't care what you do on your own time, but you're putting people here at risk. And maybe, maybe we could address it more quietly than trying to pass an ordinance if it's really 3 or 4 people that are just your repeat offenders.
That's a good point, Peter. I don't know the answer to that, but I'll find that out.
Okay, maybe we should get that and then take action after that in terms of if we need to take broader action. If it's all day long, Dan, to your point, all day long, maybe we need the ordinance. If it's 5 people, maybe Mark, you just say, hey, as a common courtesy, maybe you have to have a conversation with a few of them without bringing your ticket book, but just having a conversation with them maybe might help. Who knows?
You want me to put a phone call? Want me to do a phone call?
Peter, I think you're right. It's only a couple of people. And again, as somebody who spent some time at the dump in the last couple of months, yeah, I didn't see anybody that way, but I can imagine that it's a couple of people. And I think I saw it. I was at a board of selectmen meeting at Andover, and they had some problem with people not following rules, and they were going to ban them, for 2 weeks or for a month. And that had teeth. People want to go to the dump. So if we had,
I can talk with Kevin Kelly and Gordon and see if we can get that information, how many individuals, and if we, can reach out to them directly.
Yeah.
I would not want to see us have to go to an ordinance. There's a lot, first of all, it would be a long time before we would have it enacted. There's a lot of time involved in getting it done. There's a lot of money involved in getting it written up legally. And then when you have an ordinance, how do you enforce it?
Well, this is why, as I say, but the thing is,
it would be a long time, and we're talking about getting this done now, and it would be costly. So I would hope that several people that are violating the mask rule can be contacted and coerced some way into complying.
Oh, speaking of complying, we have a guest that really should be resting. But apparently,
Yes, I know this. He misses us, that's all.
Hey, and last thing before I move on, Dory, how are you doing? I haven't been able to see you or contact you. Are you there?
You have Andy on as well.
Maybe not.
did Andy, did you want to say
Donna,
something?
how are you doing? Donna?
I'm good. Thank
You're
you.
good? Okay.
Dory might not be near the computer. She's there for the Facebook Live, so she might not be right there.
Okay.
But she's doing okay. Thank you.
Andy, did you want to say something or? Guess not. Okay. So whatever, we'll find out, as I say, just what, but.
That conversation, we can handle the situation. Gordy never brought that conversation with Kevin.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Over to me. I know we told him if he started to get about collecting the money, we would put the collection box back out and we can make sure people comply.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, anything else, Mark?
Good.
Okay, Gail.
On this issue, no, I have nothing else to say.
What's that now?
No, this for the liaison reports, Gail.
Liaison.
Oh, you want me to go on a liaison report?
Yes.
Okay.
We expect you to say something there, yeah.
Yeah, I always say something on liaison reports. The Hebron Board of Ed, you all know the schools are closed and they're the Hebron board is looking to return on November 30th. So cross your fingers. The Senior Center, Commission on Aging, the Senior Center is still taking Medicare and open enrollment applications and winter heating assistance. The staff there, the 3 full-time staff, are taking the zero isolation program that is being given by a professor down at Quinnipiac. The idea is that they will be certified in January and be able to help those people who are socially isolated because of COVID. Gone to the Douglas Library. The Douglas Library, as you know, is closed. The book sale, which was scheduled for this Saturday, the 21st, is canceled as a result. But they are doing curbside pickup 5 days a week. And there will be a virtual program on December 8th called Christmas in the Colonies. It is a history piece going back to what Christmas was like in the early days. And that's my report, Dan.
Great, thank you. Peter?
Peter Casper, Board of Finance, their meeting was canceled. Actually, it was going to be tonight. Mr. Vesci, I don't know if you have anything you want to share with the board as the chairman of the Board of Finance, but I did not have an update. Is there anything else you wanted to share with the board? Dave? I see his green light.
Sorry. Yep.
Oh,
Nothing
there you
else. Thanks,
Okay.
Pete.
I
Thanks
just
for
want to
asking.
make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, thank you. And then the Parks and Rec, I guess the related item there, and I think Gail, you were on that as well, the forestry meeting.
Yes, you and I were
It
both
wasn't-
there, yeah.
It wasn't Parks and Rec specific, but we did attend, both Gail and I attended the forestry. There was some forestry plan outlined, sort of the next step. A lot of great work done by the committee on that, and Brian and others, and obviously Rich, and a very fascinating presentation about sort of the perspective of how to manage our forests. And so a lot more work being done there, but some very good work being done, and quite a lengthy and detailed meeting that was very, very interesting. I found it fascinating about the different kinds of trees and sort of how to think about managing our forests, which make up about 2,600 acres in town, and a lot of really good work by the folks that are participating in that. And so more to follow there, but definitely something that we should be paying attention to, because it has a potentially significant positive impact on a good chunk of our land that's categorized as forest, which is a pretty good chunk, about 2,600 acres. So fascinating information there. But I don't know, Gail, if you wanted to add anything more on that meeting, but I thought it was very well done.
It was very well done, and I was quite fascinated. There was information there that I had no clue about, and I've been into more national forests and national parks over the years. So I was really glad that I got in on time to be able to tune into it. We have to support that program. There's going to be a vote, I believe, on hiring someone to manage our forest land, or our and I would be very interested in that, because I think we need to take care of it.
Yeah, it's definitely something that as we get closer to that, we want to make sure everyone gets up to speed, because it's time well spent. And when you think, John, you had talked about the history of our town and the forest and open space and how we've managed it, is pretty impressive when I look back at the folks who've done a lot of that good work over many, many years. We're in such a good position to continue to really feel very proud of our resources here in town. And to Gail's point, the forward thinking of how to manage the forests will be something that future generations will benefit from. We probably won't be the ones that see the benefit of this good work, because it's really forward thinking about how to think about how these forests regenerate and how to best manage them, and the canopies and invasive species and things like that. But it'll be work that as stewards of the town that we can know that we would be very proud of for the next generations as they benefit from how we make decisions. So it's very important work. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention.
To add on to what Peter was saying, it was interesting to hear that much of what we call forest today was open farmland, and it's now forest.
Well, you
I
could see the
also
guy
found
said you
it
could see from
interesting.
Union. I'm sorry to interrupt, Gail. Remember he said you could see from Union to Hartford.
Yes, yeah.
Back in
And
the
that was,
it was
there
no
was-
forest.
it was
There
like,
was no
what?
trees. I'm sorry to
That's not
interrupt, Gail, but
that's not the Connecticut I know. The other thing I found, it was a question from a person in the audience, was the box turtles that live in the undergrowth. I mean, this was one of the most, I didn't know how I was going to find this when I decided that I was going to go for it. But Jack and I sat here and listened to it like, oh, we're not going to leave. We're going to stay for the whole shebang. So we have some good work going on in town.
So basically, anywhere that there's a stone wall, you know, it was open space at some point, right? I mean,
Yes, that's
exactly
why I
right.
have all those stone walls on my property.
Exactly right. It's fascinating. So we'll keep you posted, or obviously I will encourage everyone as that becomes that comes up again, that it's something that we should be paying close attention to, and something that I think is very important. Thank you.
that's great.
John.
I got nothing except for, I know that there was a shredding event for the Green Committee. I'm sure it went well, but I'll be more up to date next meeting. I've been a little bit derelict.
Okay, fire department, the fire department is going to be doing the, and I believe this is the 25th or 26th annual senior dinner. And everybody's going to be doing it socially distancing, the cooking. And then we're actually going to be delivering the meals to the seniors. And at this point, I believe there are 80 signed up at last count. And this will be a very special year in a sense, because with a lot of these people, they don't get a lot or don't get out often in the first place. And now with COVID, a lot of these people don't get out at all. So it'll be nice, to have somebody knock on the doorstep and to give them a meal. So that's actually happening this weekend. With historic properties, the big thing going on there is they were apprised of a project that is being anticipated to go on. Actually, it's at the clinic property, where there is a group of people that are talking about possibly some sort of high density housing, but it came to the Historic Properties Commission attention, and it is well within the boundaries of the Hebron Historic Properties district. So that was kind of a surprise that apparently this is something that's been in the works for a while. So need more updates on that as more information is garnered. But they did inform them and actually sent a map of where that district was. And this project is well within the boundaries of that. And again, the Historic Properties Commission, just as a reminder, this is a commission that is mandated by the state of Connecticut, by the legislature. And they do have specific responsibilities to the town, as well as to the preservation and or cataloging of properties within the town's boundaries. So interesting to see what happens with that, as time moves forward.
And one question about historic properties. Are you still working on the building there at Burnt Hill Park?
I haven't been there in a long, long time, but yes.
Because somebody came to me, and I don't remember his name, asked me if I had any 12 to 16 inch wide pine boards, and I forgot his name.
That would be John Menard.
I have some if you want to, we could talk later and facilitate that. So I do have some, and I obviously I'll donate them.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll let them know.
Okay.
They are now actually to the point of doing painting and all. It's really it's really turning into a swan. And hopefully at some point soon, people can actually start getting in there. Of course, with COVID right now, everybody's trying to keep their distance from everybody.
Right.
But he has done an incredible amount of work up there, and it really, really shows. It's really a beautiful, beautiful structure inside. So, but yeah, no, I need to spend time. My thing right now, I'm still doing 7 days a week. It's just insane. But yes, we are still up there. So,
Okay.
so I will let him know on those boards. Thank you. Anybody have anything else? Donna, any public comment?
I just want to reach out to the Boy Scouts that are still with us. If any of you would like to make a public comment regarding the meeting or your attendance at the meeting, we would welcome it at this time. You could just speak up or make a comment in the chat box. Or Mr. Penda, if you want to have.
Yeah, I
make a
was going to
comment.
say, did the cat get all of their tongues?
They're not usually this quiet, are they?
Only online meetings, not in-person meetings. Jacob or Joe, are you still there? This is part of the issue with the scouts. Are you guys still there? Can I say a few words, please?
And feel free to
They
share
just
your
muted.
cameras if you like.
Joe, you can unmute yourself. I saw you did it. Go ahead.
Maybe if I could ask a question of the Boy Scouts.
Yeah, ask him a question.
Peter Casper, of what you listened to, what did you find most interesting or surprising?
Jacob, Joe, anybody there? Or are you guys already in bed? I see you unmuted yourself, Joe. You must have something to say.
You can say Mr. Collins was the most interesting one. I mean, something like that, make him feel good. See,
Well, we might have lost them. Their attention span isn't that great. Jacob, anybody there? How about Russ?
They fell asleep.
Yeah. I think what's happening these days is people are getting zoomed out, if you want to look at it that way.
For
Right?
sure.
They do Zoom for school, then we do Zoom for scout meetings, and it's like, I don't know.
So
what
Al,
I'll do is I'll get their feedback.
Joe is saying, Joe's making, his microphone is not being responsive, so he was trying. Yeah.
Well, then he can tell him he can send it. Joe, you can send a chat. That's okay. Just send a chat. See what you think.
See, they know all of this type of stuff, chat, and I don't even know what any other terms are.
Yeah, no, they
It
teach
just
me.
exhausted my knowledge.
Yesterday, they taught me how you can save all the chats. So yeah, you need to find a 12-year-old student to help you do anything. You can type a response,
This
Joe.
is a whole new world for a lot of us.
Right.
well, maybe you could follow up with us. Just
Yes,
send us a note. Let us know if they had any thoughts or comments or anything they thought was interesting or surprising that they didn't think we'd talk about.
Yes, I will do that, Peter. I'll talk. I have a meeting coming. Oh, here he goes.
Okay.
Here he goes.
Okay, we have a comment from Jacob Covell. I thought the history was the most fascinating thing. And then Joe says, what I found most surprising was car thefts. For all the time I've lived here, I've never heard about things like that happening around town.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
We We did talk a little bit about history because Donna sent us the We Are Hebron town manager presentation. It had a lot of interesting history in there. We didn't see the presentation, but we got to see the PowerPoint. And I think they find that very interesting about where people settled in the town. And just like you were saying, back in the turn of the century, that it was everything was farmland, right?
But
That it
before
was-
that, Hebron, as I said, had a larger grand list than Glastonbury. Glastonbury was the farm area. Hebron had all the mills.
Yeah.
They had lumber mills, they had grain mills, they had a major amount of industry in town.
Yeah, in Turnerville, right? I remember hearing
All
that
over.
from some, all over,
There
right?
was lumber mill up over by Saglio's, up by the power lines, up off of North Street. You had all up and down around Hope Valley. You had mills down here. You had mills over in Turnerville. In fact, actually, there was the Ames automobile, which actually had won the contract from the government, but it was given to Henry Ford because Mr. Ames could not meet the product or the quantities that the government wanted to be built. So they ended up giving the contract to Henry Ford.
Yeah.
But the Ames automobile, we had old Amston, what was it, a whiskey brewing place? We had the silver mill. So there was a lot of industry in town.
Yeah, it's interesting. Here it is. So Jacob says, right, what did he say? Yes, that's what I meant. History of the town. Because they don't learn history of the town in school, obviously, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure what history they learn in school anymore. But we
Well, I said,
won't go down that road.
I said, in the turn of the century, there were more like 90% of the people worked on the farm. And today it's probably less than 3%, right, work on a farm. And it's kind of the same thing with the wood. Turn of the century, it was 98%. It was clear. It was not wooded. Today, it's probably 90% wooded. It's just amazing how much everything has changed.
The biology of the area, the wildlife of the area, everything is cyclical based on the types of food sources that are out there, the terrain, the cover. It all affects that cycle.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to thank all of you from the Scouts. And like I said, I'll collect their thoughts and I'll pass them along to you all.
Thank you very much for joining us. We really
Yeah,
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
they're going to be back because they need to select an issue they want to think about, and then they need to talk to a town official about that issue. They need to identify who the right person is, and then we have to set up a meeting with that person to talk about whatever issues they want to talk about. So it may be one of you.
Well, we
Right.
welcome engagement with your troops, so we'll look forward to it.
We get
Okay.
that request also from the civics class at the high school. I've done that several times. And my son was in the Boy Scouts, so I know what your badge is doing.
Yeah, it's
So
good for,
it's all good.
right. I said there's two kinds of citizens. There's the good citizens and the citizens that don't get involved.
Mm.
So they're going to learn. Okay. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Donna?
No, I think that is it. Thank you, Alpenda, for being here with the Boy Scouts.
Yes, it was great. Actually, great. Okay, Gail?
It is 8:51 and I'll make the motion to adjourn. Good meeting, everybody.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you,
Good
everybody.
night.
Night,
God
guys.
bless
Be
and a
safe.
safe
Good night,
weekend.
everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Be
Stay well.
safe, everyone.
Bye-bye.